We live in a world where spending never stops.
Cherie, you're going to need to be tannoying this.
But why do we buy what we buy? And how is our desire to spend manipulated?
Every other company on earth is trying to get you to spend money, and they're putting all their effort into getting you to spend your money on stuff all the time.
I'm Jacques Peretti, and in this series I'm going to investigate the men who've made us spend. I'll discover how products were deliberately made to break so we'd buy more.
Planned obsolescence is an open secret. When I'm talking to professional management people, and they all say, well, we all know this.
How we've been reprogrammed to dispose of our possessions.
I don't think individual advertising campaigns change people's views completely.
Well, why are they still doing it?
No, they're not still doing it.
Well, they did in 2012. You ran a campaign that said you should leave your sofa on the sidewalk.
And how technology has been used to perfect consumerism, making us constantly hungry for more.
We want the new thing. It's hardwired into our brain to be looking for new stuff. The marketers have figured out how to take advantage of that.
This looks like a concert, but it isn't. It's a lavish promotional video for the launch of a new gaming console, the Xbox One.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And the star of the show is a small plastic box costing £450.
Xbox One! Xbox One! Xbox One! Xbox One!
Consumer technology has moved centre stage. This footage shows how it's treated with an awestruck reverence once reserved for A-list celebrity. Except now, it's a console. And Xbox learned about the orchestrated hysteria around a product launch from the masters, Apple. For the past 7 years, people have queued for hours or even days to get their hands on the latest upgrade.
We've been out here 15 days, 2 weeks, and 1 day.
But what drives people to wait in the cold for a new phone? I've come to the Apple store on Regent Street to talk to the very patient man at the front of the queue for the new iPhone 5S.
And what's the 5S going to do that the 5 doesn't do?
Realistically, probably not much. There's a fingerprint scanner, which is very cool.
So you've queued for 3 days to buy a new phone that is not going to do much more than the phone you've got at the moment.
At the end, the walkway is something new that we all want.
Thousands of people are waiting in line.
How long have you guys been waiting?
18 hours.
18 hours. What is it that's so special about having the newest phone, the latest phone?
The rate that they change so quickly, you don't want to be left behind as such, do you?
Why is it so important for you to have the latest phone so quickly?
Because this time they are in different color.
Because it's a different color?
Yep.
That's what's brought you here?
Yep. It's a part of my life at the moment.
It's 1 minute to 8, and the doors of this Apple store are about to open, and close to 3,000 people queuing are going to go in and buy the iPhone 5S. And the allure, the magic of owning that phone, the new phone, is still there. It's like a Hollywood premiere, and all because you can get a phone that's a little faster.
But the flip side of the hysteria for the new is that the new becomes unwanted fast. Yesterday's desired item is tomorrow's piece of trash. This is a waste facility in California, like thousands across the globe. Except this is one with a difference. There are boxes and boxes of shiny, new, unopened technology.
If you look around here, you'll see quite a few brand new products still in their boxes.
Yeah, there's some printers there.
Yeah, brand new, never been opened. Here's a bunch more right here. And
wow,
those are...
They've never been used. So all these are, wow.
Yeah. So those are products that, for one reason or another, they decided that they would rather destroy than try to sell to somebody who might need them.
This cycle of things becoming almost instantaneously obsolete is at the heart of consumerism today. After festivals, sites are strewn with brand new tents used just once. Many of us are happy to spend and discard, and it's this churn of products that supports our whole economy. And the concern is that our economic recovery is being driven once again by consumer spending.
We live in a world of almost limitless consumption, but this didn't happen by accident. The cycle of relentless spending and throwing away was engineered.
But how did this happen? To discover its origins, I've come to Berlin. In the 1920s, manufacturers hit upon an idea that would become fundamental to the consumer economy: artificially limiting the lifespan of a product. It was known as planned obsolescence, making a product that is deliberately designed to break. Planned obsolescence began with one of the most basic consumer products of all: the light bulb. This is the former Osram factory in East Berlin. It hid a secret about light bulb production until the fall of the Berlin Wall.
In the early 1990s, long-forgotten papers were discovered in this factory. They revealed an extraordinary secret deal that would provide the template for the consumer obsolescence we live with today.
In the 1920s, a coordinated decision had been taken by a global cartel of companies to reduce the lifespan of bulbs. It was known as the Phoebus Cartel. The cartel's origins came from the chairman of Osram. His name was William Meinhardt. Meinhardt wanted to standardize and control the way in which light bulbs were manufactured. In 1924, the world's biggest electrical companies hammered out a deal in Geneva. Its aim was to increase profits by fixing prices and production quotas. It would also dictate the length of time a light bulb could last. What's extraordinary is that the rules governing the way the cartel would control production were all written down in minute detail. These papers were discovered by German researcher Helmut Herger.
Helmut, how did you first come by these documents?
Well, I know after the war came down, I knew the Workers' Council people of the light bulb factory. And when the factory closed down, they saved the archive.
This first point is, 1, control. The life of general lighting service lamps shall be controlled. Before the Phoebus Cartel existed, how long did a light bulb last?
The light bulbs lasted 2,500 hours.
And after the Phoebus Cartel?
They reduced them down to 1,000 hours.
The bulb that comes off the assembly line today as a filament of pure metallic tungsten that burns white hot for 1,000 hours.
Bulbs that lasted longer burned less brightly. The companies maintain that the 1,000-hour lifespan was a compromise between these two factors, durability and efficiency. Yet the impact on sales was phenomenal. The year the agreement was signed, one lighting company executive wrote, "All manufacturers are committed to our program of standardization. It is expected to double the business of all parties within 5 years." And any company that broke the cartel was threatened with fines.
It's incredible because actually when you look at the rules that have been written down, this is called basis of fining. It says if it lasts 20 hours more, you'll be paying so much money. 50 hours more, a higher amount. 75 hours
Swiss money, yeah.
The Phoebus cartel was ended by the war. But Helmut has uncovered hard proof of planned obsolescence. And others are investigating how it operates today. I've come to meet Stefan Schrieder at Berlin Technical University. Stefan is studying obsolescence in consumer goods and is shocked by how pervasive it is.
Planned obsolescence is an open secret. When I'm talking to professional management people on congresses and so, they all say, well, we all know this.
Stefan has identified obsolescence in everything from washing machines with heating elements which fail too early to electric toothbrushes with sealed panels, preventing you from changing the batteries. The clearest example of all is the printer cartridge.
This is from a printer, right?
Yeah, this is from a printer, it's a cartridge.
Okay.
And there's a counter inside.
What does the counter do?
It counts the pages you've been printing with this cartridge. So it is there, it's like a clock, counting down to 50,000 pages. And then it's saying, I'm empty.
And it's just this simple dial here is effectively counting down to the moment that it stops working.
Yeah. So you can reset the counter, you know? You can reset it. And a friend of mine just do it. He reset it, put it inside again, and still printing. And he's putting it down to 0, he reset it for 3 times, and it's still printing.
All you would have to do is reset it and it would work, but instead you have to buy a brand new cartridge.
A brand new one or refilling it. Yeah. This is planned obsolescence in the cartridge of a printer, obviously.
The open secret of planned obsolescence that Stefan talks about is now becoming increasingly sophisticated.
Manufacturers are even being accused of inserting electronic chips into printers to tell us the ink has run out when it hasn't. Planned obsolescence is now being woven into the very fabric of our everyday lives.
We live in a world of products designed to have a limited lifespan and accept it. But why? Because the idea of continual spending is deeply embedded in our collective consciousness. Not as a needless activity, but as a duty. A duty to consume. This began during the Cold War. The world faced a choice between competing brands, capitalism or communism.
Capitalists. They've worked and saved to make the biggest single purchase in their lifetimes. They have a share of America's wealth. They've seen capitalism work.
I've come to meet Elizabeth Cohen of Harvard University.
How important was consumerism as a way of kind of defining democracy?
American democracy was viewed as really linked deeply to mass consumption. Not only that everybody could have goods and could live a prosperous life, but that we had choice, as consumers. In contrast to the Soviet Union, where not only did they not have the kind of material goods that Americans had, but they also had no choice.
But in the 1950s, cracks were already beginning to show in the edifice of consumerism. In 1951, Ealing comedy The Man in the White Suit wryly satirized the idea that the public were being duped by companies using obsolescence. Set in the heart of the industrial North, it imagined what would happen if a product were to be created that never broke.
Some fool has invented an indestructible cloth, right?
Yes, but it'll knock the bottom out of everything, right down to the primary producers.
What about the sheep farmers and the cotton growers?
The importers and the middlemen.
The big stores even.
It'll ruin all of them.
It wasn't only the mill bosses. The mill workers were unhappy.
Now what do you think of him?
And you think they'll go ahead with it? Certainly. You're not even born yet. What do you think happened to all the other things? The razor blade that never gets blunt, and the car that runs on water with a pinch of something in it. No. They'll never let your stuff on the market in a million years.
The film reveals that far from being a time of consumer naivety, the 50s saw an acute awareness of an economy built on obsolescence and an active debate about whether the tactic of making goods to break was acceptable. But consumerism was about to face a bigger problem. People weren't buying enough new things fast enough.
There was an assumption for, I would say, at least a decade, that there was no end to the prosperity that would come with mass consumption. But at a certain point, and I would say by about the mid-1950s, there were advertising executives, marketers who were realizing that there was going to be an end to this profitability, that at a certain point these markets would get saturated. And what would happen then? And they experimented with different approaches. So how do we get people to keep buying once you have that vacuum cleaner and that refrigerator and that car?
If consumerism were to speed up, as manufacturers wanted, they needed a new and far cleverer plan. The answer lay with an idea from one man, the psychological reprogramming of the consumer. His name was Alfred P. Sloan, the head of General Motors.
Pessimism has no place in the American schemes of things. I'm the greatest possible optimist on the future of America and our whole system.
His 33 years at the helm saw the company become the biggest car manufacturer in the world. Before GM, Henry Ford had dominated the market with one uniform car, the Model T, and the slogan that you can have any colour as long as it's black. But Sloan realised that he could vastly increase sales by offering a different car for every income bracket. He could segment the market over and over.
Oh, the good life, full of fun, seems to be the ideal.
But even having several lines of car wouldn't be enough to keep the sales rolling in. Sloan wanted customers to buy a new car every year, like a new coat or a pair of shoes. GM called this theory of continuous upgrade the organised creation of dissatisfaction. This is the car that epitomised Sloan's new selling philosophy, the '56 Chevrolet Bel Air.
A crazy little train in Cochabamba takes you for a ride that's quite a thrill. This crazy little train's the choo-choo.
Legendary car designer Tom Matanou began his career at General Motors, working to the Sloan philosophy.
Oh, this is beautiful.
A four-door hardtop, the newest of the new. The Bel Air Sport Sedan.
Oh, that's a car to